financial services industrial complex should need to worry. Nobody out there should need to worry. None of the landlords, nobody. I'm saying this is why it's so good to believe in equality. You understand what a great gift it is if you accept being a believer in equality and understand the implications of saying, well, I don't believe in equality. I don't think we're ever going to achieve it. So I abandon even trying. Is that what you're going to say? No. You're missing out on a huge blessing, okay? Because the alternative to not believing in full equality, universal freedom, full freedom, is to believe in compromise in that regard, okay? And saying, no, it's okay to have a little imbalance, that we've got to have minimum wage workers getting cheated out of fair living wages, and we got to see this grow, and well, we got to do something, but I don't know what. Nobody will talk about it. As your cost of living goes up, this segment, this special interest group is benefiting, and these are hurt, and we don't talk about that effect on the economy. And the fact that socialism is not happening in a vacuum. This is by design. You understand? Because socialism and all this stuff has proven to be, by just looking at what's happened in Russia. Russia's pulling away from communism, and this is why so many of these professed liberals hate it now, right? Because they like that totalitarianism, that authoritarianism, that statism, okay, that draconianism, that Kafkaesquism, that Orwellianism. They like all that stuff. They're mean people. These are the uber elitists, the guys like George Soros out there that perpetuate crony capitalism, which is fascist. It really is. I mean, there should be no wonderment. There should be no doubt in anybody's mind of what is causing the problems in society. You cannot perpetually see poverty grow. You cannot perpetually see the wealth imbalance grow. You can't do it without implications, without ramifications. And that's what happens is people, they turn into fervent socialists. They think that you're all a bunch of a-hole meanies that believe in capitalism. They don't understand that crony capitalism is the opposite of true capitalism. The results, the effects are completely opposite. So it's up to you to explain it. If you're a devout patriot, American capitalist, and all this, then you have to reach out. You have to show compassion. The things you want them to show you, you have to be willing to show them. And, this idea you're just going to take a hard-hearted stance and you're going to even challenge the Spirit of God. If God is telling you, no, man, it's about reaching out with an olive branch to the bitter end to everybody that disagrees with you, and you're going to prove to them how they're wrong. And then you're going to have to listen to them too when they tell you that, this thing you call capitalism is really just fascism. So we're going to have to all listen to each other and understand that it is God telling us to do this. We got to listen. Like I said, anything good in me comes from above. Okay, we're facing a lot of difficulties here in America and around the world. And it's satanic, okay, it's powerful. And it's the money. The power is in the money, I'm telling you. This is where all our problems stem from. Like Jesus said, it's the root of all of our problems, all of the evil in the land. And if we want to end evil in the land, then we've got to take the bull by the horns. We've got to face the music. Wake up and smell the coffee or the rotten pile of dog crap. I mean, whatever it is, we've got to face it and not shrink away. And until we do, we're going to keep suffering under the bondage. And it's not just one suffering, it's a lot of people suffering. And like I said, for me to try and find happiness in this world, I mean, look, I can say, yeah, I'd love to find a woman and, that would make me happy, because she wouldn't be my better half. She'd be my better 2/3. And I believe that fully. I do. I think women they cope better. It's a fact they cope better with stress. Okay. They do better. It's a fact that women don't need men as much as men seem to need women. I mean, look at the demographics. 50% of men over 50 are single. Okay. Or no, I'm sorry, of women. Women over 50, some 50% are single, but only about 25% of men over 50 are single. And that's because obviously men have a much more difficult time being single. So women are more than just our better half. So they're a huge thing. So I could say, yes, that would bring me a lot of happiness. But you see, I'm not going to, I'm going to sabotage my happiness, okay, as much as I can, even in a relationship, a wonderful relationship, for the good of humanity, to be God's servant. Because above all, I can't love a woman more than I love God for making the woman and giving me the woman. So I've got to be devoted to God above any woman that ever comes into my life, that ever did or does or will, okay? So I've got to keep it all in perspective there and understand that God is the grantor of happiness. And while he might want me to be free and happy in that regard, to be, free from loneliness and being single and all that, I don't want it to be. He knows my instinct to want to sabotage my own happiness for the good of the whole, okay? Because it's like walking on water, again, as an analogy, and seeing all these people around me. I'm not the only guy walking on water, but, and asking to be happy in a world that's rife with misery, okay, for very good reasons, a lot of which I've already pointed out. How do we contend with this world? How do any of us cope with it? How do we not all live in mortal fear of homelessness? I mean, how even your property taxes, you can see, what if your property taxes kept going up and it was the government doing it to you instead of a private entity raising your rent or your mortgage? You understand? It's bad for everybody, and we've got to get it. It's just, it threatens to swallow us all up. It should be, we all should feel it, and I think people do instinctively feel it as an existential threat to our very existence, our very survival. It depends upon us not being too financially taxed. That, there's a breaking point for everybody. You can imagine if your cost of living kept going up and it's exceeded your income, that mathematically speaking, that you're going down the tubes eventually, that it's unsustainable, it's untenable. You're going to bite the dust eventually. So that's what I'm talking about. That's what we're all feeling. That's what I'm feeling. And that we should all just, be a part of humanity and jump in the fray, jump in the pool of humanity. That's what God's telling us to do. Be a friend to your fellow man, even if they're an enemy. You've got to reach out, a nemesis. I mean, this is what we've got to do. Just like in the animal kingdom. I mean, we're a lot better than dogs intellectually. We don't have to go to fisticuffs here to make our point. We can do it with our intellect, with our honor, our honesty, okay? And we can get along with each other. We can learn because it's what God wants. God will find a way. He will give us each the wherewithal. So no matter how much we disdain another person, find them as vile and disagreeable and abhorrent, we can't contend with that person. I get it. I totally do. But we've got to do our damnedest to say nice things about them and look at the good and try to really help them in a palatable way that they can accept. So we've got to be very tactful. We've got to tap into God's divine tact when reaching people that fervently disagree with us. And we've got to be willing to really be nice people, not a-holes, not arrogant, okay, not wise guys, okay, not taunting and teasing, not just humiliating, okay, and acting all self-righteous and sanctimonious. We can't do that. Okay, and that starts in our heart and minds. You've got to say, no, I'm not going to be that person anymore. I'm going to grow. I'm going to change. I'm going to evolve. I'm going to be more like the way God wants me to be. Because really, at the end of the day, I'm trying to be effective. So I'm being very selfish by being selfless, by putting out the old me and being humble and being filled with humility, the Spirit of God, and being tactful in reaching people and just pulling people out of the flames, out of the fire of hell that they're going to. Because they don't believe in universal equality. They don't believe in universal freedom. Okay, that's what's going to get people to hell. That's what's causing people to sink in the muck and mire out there, in the muddied and bloodied waters. They're drowning right and left. And I'm supposed to just walk on the water. Hey, look at me. I'm free, but you're not. Oh, I'm not free. I'm not free. Believe me, I'm not free from the money masters of misery. Just like everybody else, the IRS is very interested in what I'm doing every year. Okay, just like, everybody else, I've got to pay a cost of living. Okay, I don't get to skate. Everybody's got a nut to crack out there. And Alex Jones, he talks a lot about all these people on welfare. I mean, has he ever tried, or any of his reporters? They seem to be utterly ignorant. I mean, have they ever done any investigative research and go in and find out what it's like? They think all these Antifa people could just go and get welfare. No, they've got to qualify. It's not just like the government. Oh yeah, you need some money. What do you want? How much? It isn't like that at all. Go find out for yourselves, guys. I mean, if you're gonna get all indignant with all these welfare people out there, okay, and you disagree with the giveaway and you prescribe, don't give a man a fish because then he'll just eat it and he'll go hungry and you'll need to keep feeding him like the squirrels and then they get sick and weak and all this, right? No, it's not like that at all, okay? Oh, no, no, no. But I can understand your point of view. But if you want to talk about it, let's talk about that money, that 50 billion a year going into Section 8. If you're going to talk about a welfare program that has utterly failed, talk about that one. Okay, and you call yourselves Christians, you support your local soup kitchen. Well, what is that? How do you reconcile that? How do you rectify that in your mind? You understand the rationalization. You say it's bad to give people food stamps, but I support the soup kitchen and I support these charities. How do you're feeding them? So isn't that like feeding these squirrels and then it makes them weak and unhealthy? And you understand you're just giving him a fish and he's going to eat it and eat another fish. So then you got to keep supporting him. So where are you coming from as a Christian on that issue? No, you want to talk about a welfare issue. You talk about HUD Section 8. Okay, the one that makes guys like Robert Kiyosaki fabulously wealthy, and countless others, because everybody wants to be a landlord these days. They say, wow, that's a great way to make a buck. I just run a boarding house without even having to feed anybody, right? So it's room, no board, but I'm your landlord and I'll extract whatever I can for that room. So there's no more subletting or anything like that. We got Airbnb, so it's getting it's getting mad dog out there. It's getting vicious. And eventually the worm will turn to get very competitive because they'll only steal so many people's houses. After a while, they run out of people's houses to steal. And then at that point, there'll be real competition in the industry and these special interest groups that have been very, very tightly woven as a peer group, that puts peer pressure on each other. They'll start competing and devouring each other. So the people that got into this business of being a landlord late in the game, they're going to be the ones stuck holding the bag here. Do you understand what's going to eventually happen? And there will be true competition. It's inevitable. It's got a breaking point. That's it. That's what you call that, a breaking point. And that breaking point has to come. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So eventually, real estate prices will decline, and it's going to be very painful for a lot of investors that thought they were on their way to riches. No, now you've lost. You're behind. Now you're just like everybody else, having to pay rent yourself, never without any hope of being a homeowner. Okay, I can tell you that from California. That's the direction we're going. And if Trump's going to change it, he's got to stop that train first, and it's going to stop. The evidence is going to start in California with declining rents, declining housing costs. Do you understand? Because those are a bad thing. You don't want high costs of housing. You don't want high price housing. That's like saying you want high taxes. I mean, that's stupid. That's stupid. Even Alex was saying, they say he wants to pay more taxes because it's going to good things now, and or whatever, or it's more fair, or whatever. You know what? It just doesn't work that way. I can understand that thought. I mean, I'm not just going to completely poo-poo it. Yeah, I mean, it's just like saying, well, I support this, so I'll put your money where your mouth is, even though I could buy it for half the price, but it comes from slaves in China. But look, it works with a certain segment, with a certain element. It's a small target market of people that are gonna go along with that idea of paying more because of your nobility of character, right? Your virtue, right? Because of the ethics and morals that you hold fast to. And so you put your money where your mouth is, and you only support InfoWars, and you won't buy from the Chinese or a competitor, Amazon. I mean, and I agree, Amazon sounds like it really blows. They had a guy that worked at Amazon. The company really sounds like it sucks, putting way too much pressure on their people. They're running like a slave joint. They're running Amazon, but that's a whole nother thing. But understand the things that I'm saying, and I say them over and over and over. But you've got to understand basic economic principles. You've got to understand supply and demand, the whys and the wherefores, what you're looking for, and how you're going to set the captives free, and understand that's what you're looking for. This is how you're going to extricate yourself. And what is the evidence that we've turned it around? Your cost of living goes down, your currency becomes worth more, because we're never going to catch up to this thing by raising wages. Now, that ship has sailed. That's never going to work. We're so far behind, it's not funny. So, as much as I have talked about God being like a big puppy dog and how we're supposed to be like big puppy dogs to each other, friendly and well wishing, goodwill toward all men sort of attitude. And I believe that fully. There's another side to God, and that is that God is like a big giant wolf, too, that you don't want to mess with. You don't want to play head games with. You don't want to try to just confuse, discombobulate, make angry and mean that big giant wolf that can devour you,